Being highly intelligent sounds like a blessing. People assume your life is easier, that you solve problems faster and succeed without trying. But the truth is, intelligence comes with its own silent struggles. Psychology shows that many intelligent people face emotional, social, and even existential challenges that others rarely understand. Here are 8 real struggles of being a highly intelligent person. 1. You overthink everything. Your mind never shuts off. You analyze words, situations, and even your own emotions too deeply. While others move on easily, you replay every possibility in your head. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis, when too much thinking makes decisions harder instead of easier. You might spend hours dissecting a simple text message, wondering about tone and subtext that the sender never intended. A casual comment from a colleague becomes a week-long mental investigation. You create elaborate scenarios for outcomes that have a 0.1% chance of happening, simply because your brain can imagine them. This constant mental chatter follows you to bed, making sleep elusive as your brain refuses to power down. The paradox is that your greatest asset, your analytical mind, becomes your biggest obstacle to peace. 2. You struggle to connect with people. You crave deep, meaningful conversations, not small talk. But most people don't want to dive into philosophy, psychology, or abstract ideas over lunch. This can leave you feeling isolated or misunderstood, even in a crowd. You find yourself nodding along to discussions about weather, celebrity gossip, or weekend plans, while your mind screams for substance. When you do try to steer conversations toward deeper territory, consciousness, ethics, the nature of reality, you watch people's eyes glaze over or shift uncomfortably. You learn to mask your true interests, becoming a social chameleon who discusses reality TV you don't watch and sports you don't follow. Over time, this performance creates a profound loneliness. You're surrounded by people, but known by none. You long for a single person who asks, "What keeps you up at night?" instead of, "What do you do for work?" 3. You're too aware of everything. Intelligent people often notice patterns, behaviors, and emotions others miss. While this awareness can be useful, it also makes you more sensitive to negativity, dishonesty, and manipulation. It's like your brain sees every hidden motive, and that can be exhausting. You detect micro-expressions that reveal when someone is lying. You see the power dynamics in every room you enter. You recognize when flattery is actually manipulation, when kindness masks an agenda. This hyper-awareness makes casual socializing feel like intelligence work. You can't unsee the insecurity behind someone's arrogance or the fear driving their aggression. Watching the news becomes unbearable because you see through the rhetoric to the psychological mechanisms at play. You become cynical not because you want to be, but because your brain automatically deconstructs every narrative it encounters. The world loses its innocence, and ignorance starts looking like bliss. 4. You feel a constant pressure to succeed. People expect you to always perform perfectly. One mistake and suddenly it's, "I thought you were smart." This pressure builds anxiety and fear of failure, something psychologists call imposter syndrome. You've been labeled gifted since childhood, and that label became a prison. Every achievement raises the bar higher. You can't just succeed, you must excel. You can't just learn, you must master. When you do succeed, you dismiss it as luck or timing. When you fail, it confirms your secret fear that you've been fooling everyone all along. You watch others celebrate small victories while you move the goalposts on your own achievements. The weight of potential crushes you. You could do anything, they said, so why haven't you done everything? This pressure often leads to paralysis. If you can't do something perfectly, you don't do it at all. 5. You get bored easily. Your brain craves challenge. Routine tasks or repetitive conversations can feel painfully dull. Without mental stimulation, you might zone out, procrastinate, or lose motivation. Not because you're lazy, but because you need more complexity to stay engaged. Simple instructions feel insulting. Repetitive work feels like mental torture. You can solve problems 10 steps ahead, but must wait for others to catch up, each second stretching into eternity. This boredom isn't whining. It's a genuine neurological need for stimulation. Your brain is a racehorse, trapped in a walking pace. You might start projects with explosive enthusiasm, only to abandon them once the initial challenge is solved. You hop between interests, accumulating half-finished hobbies and shallow expertise, because the learning curve flattened out. Others mistake this for lack of commitment. Really, you're desperate for something that can keep up with your processing speed. 6. You struggle with perfectionism. You set impossibly high standards for yourself. Psychology calls this maladaptive perfectionism, the belief that anything less than perfect is failure. This often leads to burnout, frustration, and never feeling good enough.
You rewrite emails 5 times for a minor correction. You rehearse conversations that will never happen. You see flaws in your work that others would never notice, and you can't release projects because they're never ready. Your inner critic is a ruthless editor with impossible standards. You compare your behind-the-scenes struggle to everyone else's highlight reel. Even your successes feel hollow because you see the gap between your vision and your execution. You might avoid starting projects altogether because the thought of imperfect output is unbearable. This perfectionism extends to your identity. You must be the smartest person in the room, and when you're not, you spiral into self-doubt. 7. You question everything, even yourself. You don't accept things at face value. You question authority, traditions, even your own thoughts. This deep curiosity drives innovation, but it can also make you feel disconnected from people who prefer simple answers. You can't just believe what you're told. You need evidence, context, nuance. Religious doctrines, political ideologies, social norms all become puzzles to be solved rather than rules to be followed. This skepticism is intellectually honest, but socially costly. Family dinners become minefields. Workplace conformity feels like soul death. You see the arbitrary nature of so many human constructs, money, borders, status, and struggle to take them seriously while everyone around you treats them as absolute reality. You question your own questioning. Is your skepticism wisdom or just contrarianism? Are you seeing clearly or just complicating things? This metacognition creates infinite regress. You think about thinking until you lose all grounding. 8. You feel emotionally heavy. Highly intelligent people are often highly empathetic. You absorb other people's pain, understand their struggles too well, and carry emotional weight that isn't even yours. Psychologists call this emotional contagion, when you take on the emotions of others without realizing it. You can't watch the news without feeling the weight of global suffering. You can't walk past a homeless person without constructing their entire life story. You understand too many perspectives in every conflict, leaving you paralyzed rather than resolved. Your mirror neurons fire constantly, making you a sponge for the emotional atmosphere around you. You might avoid crowded places not because you dislike people, but because the emotional noise is overwhelming. You become the therapist friend, the problem solver, the one who gets it, and you never stop getting it. There's no off switch for this empathy. You carry the world's pain like a second skeleton, and you don't know how to set it down without feeling like you're abandoning your humanity.